What exactly does the Department of Homeland Security's proposed change to the F-1 duration of status rule mean, and why it is causing concern among international students?
Yeah. So the duration of status rule that has been proposed is going to fundamentally change the flexibility that students have had to apply for optional practical training and curricular practical training, which are OPT and CPT, both work authorization options for students, and enjoy the ability to stay on those statuses and just change status by working with the school to adjust and extend statuses depending on certain circumstances or jobs that they are able to get with OPT and CPT status. Really what's happening is individuals would have to be admitted for a fixed period of time into these statuses rather than have the ability to extend or to use these statuses sporadically. So when you apply for a 4-year F-1, at the end of that, you'll have to apply actually and work with USCIS through an application process to be able to extend your status, to extend OPT, to get some CPT extensions. So it's changing, it's making this more challenging because working with schools is obviously a different experience than working with USCIS on these extensions and adjusting the status that students are in. It also, with our current scrutiny over coming with the State Department and coming into the US and entering the US for students who might want to travel and leave and re-enter, this is going to create a lot of challenge for them because they don't have this the same kind of dependability on the status that they currently have, even if they're going through an extension process. People used to leave while they were on OPT, and even if there was just a short period of time left on OPT, they used to be able to come and go, and now we're anticipating a lot more scrutiny. But one of the things that we'll focus on today that I think is going to be a very significant change for the country is the change in CPT, day one CPT programs. And to explain that a bit further, I can pause there or I can explain that a bit further, but it's definitely going to be a big challenge for folks.
So, if we try to understand it in simple terms in the Indian students' context, so how the proposed change and how the policies were before this proposed change, so how it is going to affect the Indian students, if you can explain it in simple terms, how it was going on before the proposed change and how now it will affect the Indian students in particular, if we will see.
Before and after the proposed change?
Yes.
Yes. So prior to the proposed change, individuals were able to simply apply for OPT and have a period of time where they could apply for extensions as needed with their department of the DOS, at their school, the DO at their school, whatever they have the International Student Department, they would go into the SEVIS system that they have at the school, and they would be able to extend OPT for STEM purposes, for people with STEM degrees. They would be able to extend CPT as needed for day one for CPT programs where they would continue education after their degree ended. And now for folks who will be applying for OPT, applying for CPT programs, there's going to be a new process where they're not working directly after a fixed amount of time, after that 4-year degree is ended. They are going to have to be applying for the extension of status, the EOS, with USCIS. And so this is going to be for anyone who needs more time to complete their program or anyone who wants to apply for the extension of OPT. You will be working with USCIS on those submitting those applications and petitions directly to USCIS. Obviously, this is going to increase scrutiny. It's going to increase RFEs. It's going to delay the timelines for individuals who might get a request for more evidence. We've never seen requests for evidence on extensions for OPT, right? That's not something that anyone's had to ever deal with before. But perhaps now that we're dealing with USCIS and increased scrutiny under this administration, we're now going to have to see these changes for people when they are dealing with USCIS in this way. And then reduced grace period. So F-1 students used to have a 60-day grace period. Part of this final rule is a reduced period to 30 days in grace period from F-1 status. That's a big change as well. We've seen many people come to us specifically. We do H-1Bs with their cap exempt H-1Bs. Individuals come to us all the time with the need within their 60-day grace period to get a petition filed. So now individuals are going to have to be dealing with just 1 month where they change status to a different work visa. And what that means is that individuals will have to start this process sooner. And that means getting employers sooner bought in while you're still in school, or while you are in that first year of OPT. And there's going to be a lot of reasons why people don't want to be in OPT, and they'll try to get into H-1B sooner, or they'll try to get into a different work authorization sooner, because there's just going to be more interaction with USCIS during that period of OPT and CPT.
Okay. So, if we try to understand it in Indian students' context in particular, how could this proposal affect Indian students who rely on Day 1 CPT program to work in US after missing out on the H-1B visa lottery? So, in particular, I want to know how it will affect the Indian students.
Yes. Well, first of all, I think that all students are impacted in a similar way, but we know that Indian students are one of the largest student populations in the United States, meaning Indian students at a disproportionate rate are entering into the H-1B lottery. They're getting the jobs, they're working through school, they're getting the jobs, they're getting the companies to say, yes, we will sponsor you and we will have you and in our OPT program, so you can use your OPT at our company, and we will allow you to, register with your school and tell them that you're doing OPT with us. But that means that the company is investing in them and will most likely enter them into the H-1B lottery. And if the students have chosen a friendly, immigrant-friendly employer, that means that the employer will be willing to take that next step and enter them into the lottery. So we have, tens of thousands of Indian students that are entering into the H-1B lottery annually. And if they are not selected in that lottery, many companies say to those students, we can't help you. We won't be able to create an individualized solution for you because we have a blanket immigration program, but you could go get another degree at a school and do a Day 1 CPT program, and you can pay for it and you can go sign up for it. And if you get into Day 1 CPT, we will again extend your student's working status with us at this company. Amazon does this, Facebook does this, Meta, all of these larger companies where they are not willing to take an individualized approach to immigration, they are the ones who typically say, go do a Day 1 CPT program. Now, the change that is happening is that Day 1 CPT programs in this new duration of status rule are only allowed if you have not already received a degree in that at that level. So for anyone who already has a master's degree, for anyone who already went and did their OPT through this secondary degree, they are not going to be able to go back and say, I need another master's degree because I need work authorization to continue working at Meta or Amazon or Tesla. They would have to go do a next level of degree, a doctorate degree, a PhD. That's not reasonable for people. They don't want to sign up for a 5-year PhD program when they're a data scientist and they're using machine learning every day and they have a master's degree in machine learning, but they lost the lottery, right? So for all of these folks, and I'm sure we're talking about tens of thousands of Indian foreign nationals who have a master's degree, who were entered into the H-1B lottery multiple times and were not selected. They are going to be seeking alternate solutions because the day one CPT program for them is not an option anymore. And Amazon and Meta and a lot of these companies that relied on that solution to retain their talent, who they've invested in during the OPT period, that's not going to be possible anymore, and they're going to have to think of solutions.
Okay. So, what challenges could the US employers face if thousands of international workers like Indian students lose a key pathway to remain employed in the country? How it will affect the US employee or US companies over there?
There's going to be a massive challenge for employers who will have to consider an alternate immigration solution for their employees who are not able to leverage day one CPT. And companies are going to go in two directions. Some companies are going to say, we aren't going to hire any more foreign nationals in OPT because, well, we used to have another solution for them if they lose the lottery. Now we don't. So it's a high risk investment for them. If they're going to invest 1 to 3 years in a data scientist, they now have a 50% chance of losing them after those 3 years. 50% was the selection rate in the lottery this year. Very high, by the way, which is promising for companies in some ways, based on historic numbers. But this is a big change. What do we do with the 50% of individuals who aren't selected in the lottery? And some companies will say we can't take that chance anymore, and we're not going to be paying for these alternate pathways. And don't forget, foreign nationals could pay for CPT. So they could pay for their own program. Now it's going to be on the company to say we are going to invest in pathways for these individuals. So we might see some companies say we're not going to hire. And then we might see some companies say we're going to use this as a competitive advantage. We are going to win over that talent. There are AI professionals, there are data scientists, there are incredibly talented financial professionals who were not selected in the lottery and can't do day one CPT. And Amazon and these larger companies might not take a more individualized approach on their immigration. And there might be another sector that is willing to, or another type of company that is willing to take on that kind of talent and invest in these alternate solutions, like a cap exempt H-1B program for them. And some of those companies are going to be the companies that are right now fighting Meta for this quality talent, right? Right now, Meta's paying the highest wages and for AI professionals, and there might be some growing startups that now could potentially, through offering creative immigration solutions, they could actually win over some of that talent by offering them a place to go and an immigration solution that could work if day one CPT does not.
So, ma'am, can we summarize in that way that these policies are going to affect the US economy or the US job sector? Can we say that?
There's absolutely going to be an effect. Companies are going to be more cautious over hiring individuals who have expiring OPT or are going into OPT in general, knowing that there is not an F-1 CPT solution for many of the folks who have master's degrees.
My another question is, could tighter restrictions on day one CPT and F1 status ultimately worsen talent shortages in sectors such as technology, engineering, and healthcare in the US.
There's no doubt about it that this is going to have a massive impact on the companies that are fighting, that are in desperate need of top talent within various fields where STEM graduates specifically are majority foreign national or significantly foreign national. We look at the AI talent pool, 60% of the AI talent pool in the US is foreign national. What does that mean for the AI industry? It means they are going to struggle if they are not willing to find alternate solutions for the individuals who are not selected in the lottery. Because if we put, many of them will qualify for F-1, many of them will get selected in the lottery, but there will be a significant amount that are not selected. And this is because of the amount of the portion of our talent pool that these individuals make up. Companies are going to have a challenge.
So, can we say that the AI sector in the US could face a very big challenge of the shortage of the talented pool or talented workforce because of this proposed change?
The companies will either struggle, or because they won't have the talent, or they will have to get creative and find alternate solutions. There are still pathways they can take to retain this talent, but if they don't do that, if they stay the way that things are and they continue to rely on day one CPT the way they have been, and they don't adjust, they're going to struggle with their talent pool and recruitment.
And ma'am, what these foreign students can do to be into the employment in the US, or what I would say proposals, or what would be the things that the students can use to be into that thing, or to avoid that duration of status or F-1 rule change?
Yeah, students need to be aware of all options that they can propose to employers to de-risk their employment. Companies are going to be evaluating risk for every single foreign national hire. And every foreign national who is an Indian national graduating with OPT will have to approach an employer with a plan of how that employer can retain them. And not just a simple plan. This has to have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. That shows that if they are not selected in the lottery and they already have a master's degree and they can't do day one CPT, that they are able to transfer abroad and do a year abroad for an L1, or they are able to participate in the Build Fellowship to do a 1-year fellowship to get CAP exempt H-1B status. Or they are able to, or they do somehow qualify for a J1 training program because they've never done OPT in the US before. There are ways to outline solutions for yourself that individuals are going to have to do, because the simple strategies of day one CPT might not work anymore.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. Do you want to add something more to it? You want to explain it more, or want to advise something to the students who are seeking employment in that segment?
Yeah, I really encourage the students who are entering into the lottery, who qualify for H-1B, who are founding their own companies and thinking of figuring out how they come up with those Plan B and Plan C options for themselves to explore the CAP exempt H-1B programs that exist. There are some state-run programs called Global Entrepreneur in Residence programs. Those are worth applying to if you're a founder. We run a fellowship program for founders and mid to senior level talent that allows individuals to work 5 hours a week to train US students and get a CAP exempt H-1B while they work full-time for their employer. And employers should be proposed this kind of alternative solution in light of everything going on. We have to get more creative right now, and you should be seeking out, foreign national students should be seeking out these kind of creative solutions that are options to carve out new pathways.